Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into just one single but incredibly powerful verse from the Quran's Surah Al-Baqarah. And what's so fascinating about it is that it frames our spiritual life not just as a journey, but as a kind of transaction, a really high-stakes trade with consequences that last forever. But before we get into it, let me ask you a question. Just think about it for a second. What is the absolute worst trade you could ever make? We usually think of bad deals in terms of money, right? Or maybe a missed opportunity. But what if the currency wasn't cash? What if the currency was your own soul? Well, the verse we're exploring today basically answers that exact question. It describes this spiritual transaction where the soul itself is on the table, a single bargain that sends ripples across all of eternity. All right, so let's get into this first part, what I'm calling the transaction of the soul. This metaphor of an exchange, of a trade, is really the engine that makes this entire verse run. So here's the verse itself, Ayah 175 in the original Arabic. Before we unpack all the layers of meaning, let's just take a moment to absorb the source text as it is. Okay, and here we have the translations in both English and Urdu. Now, if you look at the English one, you can see it really has two distinct parts. First, you've got the deal itself. Those are the ones who have exchanged guidance for error and forgiveness for punishment. And then comes the stunning, almost shocking observation. So how patient they are in pursuit of the fire. We're definitely going to break down what that really means. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The key Arabic verb here is ishtara. And this is so important because it doesn't mean an accidental swap or a simple mistake. It implies a deliberate, conscious choice. It's the act of preferring one thing over another in a trade. This tells us the person has weighed their options and willingly, actively made this exchange. That idea of choice is absolutely central to understanding this verse. So, what's the first part of this, let's call it a cosmic trade? Well, the verse says it's an exchange of guidance for error. The verse just lays it out with such stark clarity. On one side of the scale, what's being given up is al-huda, or guidance. And what's being taken in return? Al-dalala, which means error, or, being completely and utterly lost. So what do we really mean by guidance here? Well, a good way to think of it is like having a perfect map and a flawless compass on a really treacherous journey. It's that divine direction, that sense of clarity and purpose that lights up the one true path forward. An error? It's the exact opposite. It's like taking that perfect map and just throwing it away, smashing the compass, and choosing to wander aimlessly in a dark forest. It is a deliberate choice to embrace confusion. So at its very core, this first trait is a direct swap of clarity for total confusion. But believe it or not, this bad deal actually gets worse. After trading away the map, the verse describes a second and honestly even more devastating exchange, trading away forgiveness for punishment. I mean, you can just see the insane imbalance of this deal right here. What's being given up is al-maghfirah, forgiveness. That's the chance for mercy, a clean slate, a fresh start. And what's gained? Al-adhab, punishment. It's like being offered a full pardon and choosing the prison sentence instead. And remember that keyword, ishtara. The verse keeps emphasizing that this isn't some tragic accident or a simple, oops. It's being framed as a conscious business deal, a deliberate choice to prefer punishment over the possibility of being forgiven. So, okay, after making these two absolutely disastrous trades, where does this path lead? What's the final inevitable consequence of a deal like this? The verse really builds the tension here, right? It lays out the terrible terms of the trade one by one before revealing the ultimate, terrifying result. The fire. That's it. That's the culmination of trading guidance for error and forgiveness for punishment. It's this single, stark, sobering reality. It's the final destination of this path that was so deliberately chosen. But the verse doesn't just end there with that final, stark outcome. It takes this really surprising turn. It ends not with a final judgment, but with a question. A very, very strange question about endurance. Yeah, the verse closes with this astonishing phrase. So how patient they are in pursuit of the fire. Now, this isn't a literal question that's looking for an answer. It's what we call a rhetorical question. It's an expression of complete and utter amazement. And this is what is so incredible. The verse isn't just condemning the choice, it's marveling at it. It's expressing this deep astonishment at how a person could be so steadfast, so determined, so patient in walking a path that leads directly to their own ruin.
It's a comment on the sheer willpower it takes to knowingly choose self-destruction. And so that's the question the verse ultimately leaves us with. If the worst possible outcome isn't some accident, but a deliberate trade that we are fully capable of making, what does that say about our own choices? What are the deals we're making every single day, maybe without even realizing it?